Welcome to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. If you desire to intimately connect with yourself, significant other, children, family, friends, community, and higher power, then this is the show for you. We explore intimate topics, inspiring life stories, spirituality, and insightful tips on strengthening relationships. The show is hosted by Dr. April and her co-host, Coach K. Let's get this episode of the Bringing Intimacy Back show started. We share with you today the secret power to intimacy to create the life you love or love the life you create. Now here's your host, Dr. April, and her co-host, Coach K.
Welcome to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. I am the co-host, Coach K. Dr. April is away today, so you have me and a very, very special guest, which I'm super excited about. But before we kick things off and you guys get to meet who I have just got the opportunity to meet, let's talk about a few things. Always remembering that if you are following us wherever you are, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, making sure that you drop any comments in the comment section so that we can converse with you back and forth, and that you are following or subscribe to our YouTube channel, right? Now, every single month we have a charity of the month because it's very important for us to make sure that we are connecting with the community. And so this month, charity of the month is Patty's Place, which is fitting for Mental Health Awareness Month. So the mission of Patty's Place, where they believe when individuals and families struggle in their mental health, that the process of assessing care should not add to their burden. One size does not fit all. And so at Patty's Place, they do create a unique space and place in the community for youth and families. So if you are someone who may be, or you know someone who may be struggling with mental health and needs some support, your youth and their families, please go to www.pattysplace.org. And that just went across your screens. So we're always excited about that. Also, if you have ever watched the show, you know that Dr. April does amazing retreats. Well, she has a treat for you. If you would like to get a special discount code for a good amount off of an upcoming retreat, all you have to do is email Dr. April at bringingintimacyback.com, and she will send you a coupon discount code for the vacation counseling retreat. You do not want to forego that. Trust me, retreats are extremely important, not just for yourself, but sometimes for the whole family. Now, I have had the pleasure of speaking just briefly with our guest today. And let me tell you, you guys are in for a treat. Let me just tell you just a little bit about who we have. Tom Glaser is a licensed psychologist and life coach with over 35 years of experience. Super important, that experience, right? Tom Glaser is also a yoga instructor and an author. For his Amazon.com best-selling book, Full Heart Living, he interviewed the happiest people he personally knows. And what he discovered can help all of us not only be happier, but live more satisfying lives of purpose and meaning. Now, if you want to check that book out, I'm going to tell you exactly where you need to go. But I want you to stay tuned because you may learn a little bit more as we talk. Because from what I understand, I'm in for a little bit of a treat of something that he may have. I don't know what it is. So you guys are going to find out when I find out. So make sure you stay tuned and share this with your community because maybe it can help them too. We'll be right back with our very special guest for today, Tom Glaser.
Are you in a relationship with someone that you see often, but you feel so disconnected with them? Bringing intimacy back can help you bring the intimacy back to your relationship. BIB is dedicated to inspire, enlighten, and encourage intimate connections. Live shows, weekly guest speakers with over 29,000 downloads. We can help promote your products and services, grow your business and clientele with BIB. Want to become part of the BIB family? You can now sponsor with us.
All right, welcome back to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. And welcome, Tom Glaser, to the show.
Thank you, Kay. What a pleasure to be here. Can I just say, I love what you've already done. You started with charity. You started with giving back, which is a huge piece of what I learned in my whole project, the importance of contributing to the greater good. And you mentioned retreats. Can I also put a plug in for retreats? I'm a huge believer in retreats myself. And I love how you emphasize it's not just for the person who goes. It's a gift to the community because we come back recharged and inspired.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And see, it all just flows. I told you it was great. And that was just the first couple seconds. Now, before we dive into this surprise, I want to make sure that I ask the question that we ask to all the guests here, because it is the Bring It Intimacy Back show.
Yes.
What is intimacy to you?
Intimacy to me is emotional connection. It's that feeling of closeness. It's the heart opening and kind of the heart joining between two or more people, where I feel I can be authentic. I can bring my full whole self, and so that's like safety. I feel safe. Mm-hmm. And I exude those same things to other people, that I create safety for other people so they can come forward with their whole, true, full selves as well. And I'm telling you, when we do that, look out, right? It's like, what's that quote? The whole is greater than the sum of its parts, right? So that, let's say it's two people, bring them together and there's true intimacy. Like, we can change the world. I know that sounds dramatic, but really, I believe it.
And because honestly, it's the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I love how you talk. I love how you talk about the openness of the heart, and then the safety around it. Yes. I think being able to get all of these different definitions, but perspectives on what intimacy is, will continue to help us, literally, like you said, change the world, because it opens our perspectives on what things are, and we get out of the box of, oh, intimacy is sex. It's like, no, sex is one piece of intimacy.
Yes, nothing wrong with it. It's a great thing. Come on, but
yes, thumbs up to that.
Yeah. But how do we get there? How do we get to great sex? It is through that emotional connection. That's when the sparks really fly.
Oh my gracious. Yes, indeed. Listen, I know that you have, number one, your book, just the cover alone. It's happy, it's inviting. Yeah, show
I'll show it. Yeah.
So right there, when you see it, it's full heart living, right? Yep. Conversations. It's happy, it's inviting. So it's already intriguing, and it makes you want to read more. It's colorful, it's diverse. And I really, really, really love it. Do you want to tell us a little bit about, because you don't just have a book, you have a game, you have more than just a book.
Yeah. So this is a conversation starting game called Full Heart Living Conversation Sparks. And it came out of the public speaking gigs when my book first came out. And we're going to try one of these conversation starters in just a second. I'll just say, because I realized when I was doing my book tour that people needed an experience, Coach K. Like, I couldn't just talk about connection, because what I learned is that happiness is about connection. And I'll say more about it after this little activity we're going to do. But I couldn't just talk about it. I needed to give people an activity that they could do so they can experience in the moment, and then they could take it with them. So you have bravely agreed to try one of these. You don't know what's coming. What's going to happen is I'm going to give you a conversation, like a prompt. I call them conversation sparks.
Mhm.
But you don't know what that prompt is. Yeah, this is going to, for the listener, this is a true immediate, and I didn't know that question was coming, by the way, about intimacy either. That was also on the spot. my true immediate definition of intimacy. So, but same thing, you've bravely agreed to try this out. I'm going to give you a conversation starter. You're going to have 2 minutes to just speak from the heart, or up to 2 minutes, responding to this prompt, whatever comes to
Okay.
you, just from the heart. I'm going to listen from the heart. And specifically, I'm going to listen for your themes and values. So theme, like, what are you really saying? What's it really about? What's the through line in what it is that you say? Values, based on what you're saying, what seems to be important to you. And that's what I'm going to base my feedback on and I'll have about
Okay.
2 minutes to give you that feedback. And we're going to see how connected to each other we feel. And so we're watching for that as we do this, how connected to each other we feel, and how connected to ourselves we feel as we do this. So you see why this is perfect for intimacy, yeah?
Oh yeah.
Even without doing it. Okay, clear enough on what we're doing?
Yep, I'm
No,
ready. Told you
you're
guys I
ready.
don't know what this is, so I'm ready.
Okay. So again, I'm just honoring the courage it takes. I love that you're game to do this. Okay, your conversation prompt or spark is: talk about a time, Coach K, you felt the most alive and why.
Ooh.
Or
I
a
would say
time. Yeah, go ahead.
one moment that I can truly think about,
Yeah.
and this is a vivid memory in my mind, is when I was giving birth to number 5.
Yeah.
And with a little backstory, with number 3, I did a natural birth. It wasn't planned. I did not want it. It was the first one, but I chose to do that ongoing. And so with number 5, we were at at his baby shower, and he was not due, and we were playing games, and I was the host of all the games. So after we got through the games, in my mind, I said, I just want to get through these games and eat some meatballs. That was on my mind the entire time. And so I'm going through these games, and as I'm going through the games, I'm feeling this pull. Mind you, this is number 5. So, I kind of supposed to know how this thing goes. So we get to the end of the game. I pushed through it, and I said, all right, guys, I'll be right back. I went and laid on my bed, and I'm just laying there. And I just remember hearing voices around me, and people keep asking, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. And apparently, my little cousin comes up the hall. We were so close. She was my first best friend in the whole world. And she saw a tear come out of my eye. And I'm not an emotional person. And because she kept saying, you want me to go get Sean? I was like, no, don't go get him. And so I sternly told her no.
Yes.
And so when she saw the tear, she said, I don't care what you say. She's crying at this point. I'm going to get him because something's wrong.
We're
And so
almost at 2 minutes, but please continue. Come to the.
She goes to grab him, and we go to the hospital. We are 10 minutes from the hospital, and within 30 minutes I'm sending pictures of the baby back to the baby shower guests. But both his grandparents were able to be in the room, and this was my mother-in-law's only grandchild that she was going to ever see born. And it was natural. They were there, and I just felt it was an amazing moment. It was such an amazing moment. They got to witness this. He was our last one, and everyone at the baby shower got to experience that even from a distance. And I just felt like, I did this.
Meant to be. Like it was meant to be. Oh my God. I'm going to reset the timer and give myself about 2 minutes. What a story. Thank you, first of all, so much for sharing that with me.
Absolutely.
What an incredible moment. Okay. values that came to me based on what you said. I heard values, obviously, of family and community, love, right? Just picturing you were surrounded by love at that shower to start, and you were having fun. There's values of having a good time. You're leading games. And then spontaneity, that word kept coming to me. I think this is a story about spontaneity, and like we can't plan the best moments of our lives. This was not, it wasn't supposed to go this way.
No.
And then like I heard faith too as both a theme and a value, because the grandparents were able to get there. They were able to be there, even though he wasn't due. You weren't supposed to give birth that day. And so you're surrounded with love and family from the beginning to after you gave birth to number 5. Oh, what a beautiful, incredible story. I just feel so honored that you shared that with me. Well, let's check in. How did I do? Well, let's start with the connection question first. How connected to yourself and to me did you feel through that process?
I felt very connected. I felt like I was telling, another family member about this experience, like someone who I already knew. I was fully in it, fully engaged in it. And you were also fully engaged in it. So it was easy to tell that story.
Yes. That's a really key component right there, isn't it? Of intimacy and of connection.
Yeah.
I was listening really actively, and you could see non-verbally I was interested. I think this is what you mean, right? That I was nodding, I'm making good eye contact. I didn't interrupt you, but I laughed appropriately. I said some mm-hms, or, those minimal encouragers, we call them. So you felt seen and heard, and I think it's back to the safety. If it felt like family, you probably felt safe with me, which is in part probably due to how I showed up, and in part because of the question itself, because the material, I think, might have contributed to that.
Absolutely. I love, which as soon as I saw the box, I will be getting those cards, because
Awesome.
I know that they will be valuable I have a couples retreat, but I also have a women's conference that's coming up. So those will be very valuable there.
Yes. Other people have used them at those kinds of activities. Couples groups have used them. One of my favorite times of using them is with my son and his guy friends. They were then, 21, 20. We had one of the best talks, a group of about 5 guys and me, the old guy. And to see these, young men getting real with each other and really taking it seriously, doing it. And like it's easy to, with our stereotypes, think that young men don't have much going on up here. They do. You just have to sometimes find it, or tease it out.
I think that's an amazing thing to do that, because what you're giving those young guys is the platform to go and do that somewhere else.
Right.
And I do agree, we don't give our young men the space and the grace to have valuable conversations with each other. So I love that you do that. We do something similar at our house, just if all the kids are there. 2 have moved out, but if everyone's at the house, they just go on the internet and they find these spark questions that we ask everybody in the house. So I love that concept completely.
Because it builds community, right? You get to know each other. You get to know what's important. And you get to know what you share and what differences there are. And both are important, that we honor our differences and that we find the commonalities and that we still love each other despite the differences. So important.
Yes. So, what are full heart living conversation sparks? Tell me what made you write this? What started it? What was the thing that says, "Oh, I have to share this with other people"?
Well, again, I was going around doing standard book readings when my book first came out, and my book is all about connection. So it's called Full Heart Living. I thought it was going to be about happiness, and it is about happiness. I interviewed the happiest people I personally know, and then I used research and information from my background as a psychologist. But what I learned is that happier people connect really deeply with other people, themselves, and their passions. So those three things, and there's more. There's like 18 chapters in the book. They also take really good care of themselves. They're grateful. They live in alignment with their values. But those are the top three things. They connect deeply with others, themselves, and their passions, particularly in the service of others, which I alluded to earlier. So initially, when my book came out, I was explaining all this and reading portions of my book, just like a typical book reading. And I would end my talks saying, I hope I've inspired you to connect more deeply with yourself, others, and your passions. And people would look at me like deer in a headlight. They didn't know what I meant. So I realized, oh, I got to either remind them or teach them how to connect more deeply. And so I came up with this activity and key parts. So key parts are the questions themselves, or the sparks or prompts, all of them based on themes in my book, by the way. But the key component is the listener, that the listener listens really openly and actively as you witness, but also that they listen and give feedback on themes and values, because this is what I learned in all my years of doing this work of counseling and teaching. People feel the most seen and heard when they feel heard. So we summarize what they just said. That's why I say themes. And then it goes even deeper. If we can say, I think what's important to you is XYZ, like family, community, humor. People really feel seen. The heart's open. The blocks between people, they don't totally go away, but they begin to go down. The walls go down. So that's how it came about.
Is it almost like, how you go to a small group and they say, "Does anyone have any questions?" And no one raises their hand. And then there's this one brave soul that asks the question. And once that's answered, that kind of prompts everyone else to start asking questions.
Exactly.
Now, just thinking about your book and the happiest people that you know,
Yeah.
has anyone, as far as feedback, have they said, "You know what, reading this story, I didn't realize I was stuck in this place, but I read this conversation and it changed"? How's the feedback from the book part of it?
Yes. I've had more than one person say, I quit my job because of reading your book.
Awesome.
I know, it's almost scary though, right? Ooh, it's like, geez, that's a lot of responsibility. Or there was one that just came through recently. The details are fuzzy, but something about reading a portion of my book helped her have a deeper conversation with somebody who was struggling. Just remembering somebody in my book was struggling with something. And instead of like telling the person what to do, she just listened more actively and was really there and present for the person. Even though she was tempted to give solutions, she knew that probably wasn't going to help. And the person came up with her own a really good solution through their conversation. So it's so heartwarming to hear these kinds of stories. It's amazing the impact we can all have. And you don't have to write a book, listeners. This is what I want to impart. I did because I couldn't not write a book. I was compelled to write this book. But this is a book of stories. Our stories are everything. This is how we make change in the world, is by telling our stories. Stories are healing. Our stories heal and inspire. And it's the
So
telling and the listening. It's both ends are healing.
how has the writing the book, how has that changed you? What did you notice about yourself that may have, changed or not?
Several things come to mind. Part of it is, and I've been pretty darn good about self-care most of my adult life, but there's a chapter on self-care, and there is that thing of, if you're going to, that you got to walk the talk. If I'm going to be putting this out there, it helped me get even more committed to my own practices of self-care. I would say too, writing the book helped me sort of step into my authority. It helped me help me find my voice, right? Um, there were so many reasons growing up. It was much safer for me to just keep my mouth shut, right? If I was quiet and kind of blended into the woodwork, that was a super smart choice in many, many situations. That said, then I get out into the world and people are like, you don't talk enough. We want to hear more from you. We know you got more in you. We want to hear what you have to say. So it's this really slow evolution of me stepping forward and finding a way to bring my gifts to the world. Because when I'm totally silent, I am not benefiting people. It's not, and there's a time to be quiet. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
If we listened more, the world would be better. But also for me to, squash my light, to not share my light with the world, is not doing anyone any favors. It doesn't do me any favors, and it doesn't help other people. So writing the book really helped me realize, hey, I have something that can help people, and I get to say it.
So with the people that you interviewed, do you feel like you had a new intimate connection with them through
Oh,
this
yes.
book? And what about with yourself?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Because it was really in-depth conversations, all of them on camera. There's these mini documentaries, I call them, where you can see the interviews on my website,
Nice.
fullheartliving.com. Yeah. Um, so absolutely, way more connected. The doing the interviews, especially the very first day of filming, was one of the happiest days of my life, because here I am, sitting with happier people talking about what makes them tick, right? So that was just so fun for me. The contagion effect, like my heart opened. I just felt elated, and you can't have that experience, which is true when you do the conversation sparks as well. You can't have that experience with another person without also connecting more deeply with yourself. So like even with you, when you were telling your story of the birth of number 5, right? We all have mirror neurons in our brains, right? Even though I've never given birth, I put myself in the situation as much as I can. Empathy comes up. I imagine this whole series of event, the party, the tear, the niece saying, well, I don't care what you say, I'm going to go get Sean. The grandparents being there. All of these are ways I get more connected to myself. My heart opens. I feel more full. I feel warmth in my chest. I feel connected to you. So yes to all those questions.
So that really perpetuates the saying or the thought that you really should be an active listener and take in what other people are saying. And that, like you said earlier, it's how we can change the world. You know,
Yes. Yes.
you spoke on that very well.
Thank
That
you.
when we listen and understand versus listening to respond.
Right. Yes, exactly. How often in everyday life, when we're talking, are we preparing what we're going to say in our mind? We look like we're listening because we're quiet, but our mind is going, oh, here's what I'm going to say. Here's what I'm going to say. Here's what I'm going to say. Right. And this helps put you in that other more receptive space. Here's a quote. I wonder if you've heard this before. I don't remember who it's from, unfortunately. But deep listening is the willingness to be changed. Is that not a beautiful quote? And it's true. If
It
I'm
is.
really listening, I might change my mind. I might change my feelings.
That's a powerful statement because
Absolutely.
yes, you could just thinking about so many people that are, button heads and so even in the politics world, if someone just sat and listened more
Yes.
instead of trying to be right about something,
Right.
it really could change.
Exactly. Let me say one more thing about conversation sparks. There's included in the deck is an instruction card with 7 ideas for active listening. So this is part of what sets this. So there's other, of course, decks of conversation starters. This one is based on my book. So that, again, that sets it apart because it's based on what happier people do. And then it instructs people really clearly and with really simple ideas on how to listen actively. Now, most games of this kind don't include in-depth instructions like that. So,
well, and that's very important, honestly, because as human beings, we crave instruction, we crave discipline. So having that even gives even more comfortability with utilizing the cards because it's like, okay, I know what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
I, not necessarily know how I'm supposed to feel because only you can feel what you feel.
Yeah.
So I do enjoy that. Now, are there any other items that you would like for us to know? Because I know you said, a little plug about retreats. Is that something that you do as well?
Yes, I don't have any, on the calendar now, but that's coming. I'm just in the beginning stages of creating a writing and yoga retreat. So I'm thinking about a year out. I've got another book that I need to finish first. Then I can, put my creative energy into creating that retreat. But the ideas are just downloading. It's just coming to me like in streams. It's amazing. Whoa, yeah, it's going to be good. But I do teach workshops in the meantime. I've got one for highly sensitive people coming up in the next 6 months, one on developing a purpose. Oh, and there's a new one that a colleague and I are developing called Your COVID Stories. So this is a writing workshop, a 3-hour writing workshop, helping people incorporate the lessons that we have hopefully gleaned over these challenging few years we've been through.
And that's going to be a really good one. Just thinking about the intimacy aspect of it. I think over these last couple years, we've lost a lot of intimacy with ourselves and with other people because we were forced to do the opposite of what intimacy is.
So sad that we had to stay physically apart. Yes, I know.
Yeah.
I know. Right.
And you spoke about, that community and needing that community. Yes, it's good to be by yourself for a little bit, but I think that workshop. So definitely when you have those dates, definitely let us know about that because that's going to be important. Telling those stories, just like when you were interviewing those folks and you were able to get them to tell their story and put that in a book that prompted the Sparks cards that prompts more conversations. I think it's such a necessary thing. And I appreciate you so much for coming and being with us today and sharing what you have. For anyone that's listening that wants to connect with you, what is the best way for them to reach you? How can we find you?
Yeah, just go to fullheartliving.com, HEART, fullheartliving.com. That's really the easiest way.
All right. Well, I definitely, again, I appreciate you. It was very fun. I will definitely be getting those cards. So anyone who knows me, and if you're going to be in one of these retreats that's coming up, we're going to be doing some talking. And I appreciate you. I thank you for being here. We will be right back. We're bringing intimacy back. Where intimacy
Thank you, Coach
is
K.
real.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Life can be overwhelming sometimes. We think we are a burden to others. We think that it's better to hide it and suppress our hurt, but it's not. As Cave Coral Therapists, we will provide you with quality, confidential counseling services in a relaxing and peaceful environment. Talk to a professional today. Book an appointment on www.cavecoraltherapist.com or call 239-565-6921.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. That was an amazing segment, and my gracious, just being able to tell that little story, it made me feel a little bit lighter and happier. So thank you for our special guest, Tom Glaser, today. And don't forget, you can check him out at fullheartliving.com. So you can get that book, you can get the Spark cards. I think we should do that. So we do have some more upcoming shows. June is among us. Why am I so happy about June? Because I say there's a national holiday in June. My birthday, duh. Okay. So on June the 1st, we have Psychedelic O with Tara Galeno. On June the 8th, we have Does Your Child's Sexuality Measure Who You Are as a Parent? That'll be with myself and Dr. April. Then on June the 15th, we have Confessions of a Hollywood Sex Addict with Dan Harari. And then on June the 29th, closing out the month, we're going to have Going the Wrong Way with Chris Donaldson. So we have some amazing shows lined up. Remember, if you're catching the tail end of this, go catch that replay because it's worth every single listen. If you are on one platform, I want you to make sure that you follow us on all platforms. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and Clubhouse. Make sure that you leave feedback because that's the only way that we can be the best for you. And if you have any questions for us or Tom Glaser, please feel free to leave it in the comment section. We will make sure that we can get those answers to you. I thank you for listening to us, and we will see you right back here next week on the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Bringing Intimacy Back, where intimacy is real. You can also find us at bringingintimacyback.com, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Dr. April Brown's 7th book series, Improving Intimacy, is now on Amazon. We'll see you next Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Don't forget to follow, share, and subscribe.